So the U.S. government is attacking Bitcoin. I got that idea from this video from Mr. Kristof over here. I like his channel. I recommend you come over here, subscribe to him. He definitely has a bit of a different take. He has a kind of a different personality in the crypto space. I don't think he's everyone's favorite YouTuber, but you know what? Neither is Crypto Wealth, so that's okay. But I saw this video. I mean, he definitely has some analysis that I tend to agree with, and I don't think everybody covers it from the angle that he covers it. Too many times people are like fanboys exclusively. They're never critical. They can't be objective. But at the same time, all they ever talk about is why the price is going up, why the price is going down, why the price is going up. Oh, no, Bitcoin's dumping. But I like talking about more tangible things that's happening in this space. And when I saw his video, I thought, okay, I've been wanting to talk about this for a minute. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I believe that in long-term Bitcoin is going to the freaking moon. However, I also believe that we have not seen the worst bear market yet. I believe it can be worse, and I believe it's going to happen. I believe we're seeing it start to unfold right here, right now. So I'm going to discuss this topic. But before I get into that, let me just say this. Bitcoin has been under attack, and people aren't talking about it, and it's been under attack on a couple of fronts. And I kind of feel like people don't talk about it because it's not what viewers want to see. But for me personally, I want to understand the landscape. And I want to understand how to navigate. I don't have to agree with it. You know, I tell my wife all the time, I don't have to create the rules. I have to understand the rules so I can play the game to the best of my ability. And that's how I feel about cryptocurrency. Now, with that being said, I'm not an investment advisor. I'm just a cryptocurrency enthusiast, entertainer, whatever you want to call it. But don't call me an expert, whatever you do. With that being said, please go down. If you want to learn how to earn a passive income not marketing, you can do that too. But if you want to learn how to earn a passive income with cryptocurrency, literally for doing very simple things like surfing the internet, you know, using the web browsers that pay you cryptocurrency, et cetera, I highly recommend that you go down into the description and subscribe to my newsletter. By the way, all of my newsletter subscribers last week, I believe it was last week, or maybe it was this week, earlier this week, yes. This week, I've just launched my book to the public related to cryptocurrency and being able to earn an income in cryptocurrency. I'll talk about that towards the end of the video, so you don't have to stick around for that if you don't want to. I'll go through the meat and potatoes first, but I will say this. All of my subscribers had a chance to buy the book for $1. All of my email newsletter subscribers. So thank you to those of you that are subscribed. Thank you for following me. Thank you for reading my emails. Let's get into this. So this is incredible. And I kind of feel like, I feel like I've mentioned this before. I kind of felt like this was coming for a while. The U.S. Commodities Future Trading Commission, CFTC, and federal prosecutors are charging crypto trading platform BitMEX with facilitating unregistered trading and other violations. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but let's just go through here. The CFTC announced Thursday that BitMEX CEO Arthur Hayes, company owners Ben Delio and Samuel Reed, and corporate entities HDR Global Trading Limited, 100X Holdings Limited, ABS Global Trading Limited, Shine Effort Incorporated Limited, and HDR Global Services in Bermuda Limited allegedly offered U.S. customers illicit crypto derivative trading services. So this is incredible. Now, I kind of feel like this was coming for a while, and I feel like the U.S. government, the CFTC, has been working on bringing these charges. By the way, this is an accusation. These are legitimate charges that they're going to have to figure out how to fight. And it looks like they're going to fight it. I'll talk about that in a minute. But this is like legitimate hot water. And this is just one domino that's going to fall. I believe we're going to see this happen throughout the leveraged trading platform ecosystem. I mean, throughout it. And I don't know how it's going to affect YouTube channels. I got a feeling we'll see YouTube strikes coming after the fact, and YouTube does that, and it's annoying. But I got a feeling that, you know, people who were talking about this a lot, they may get strikes. It's hard to say. It's probably going to depend on how this ultimately shakes out. But here's the thing. BitMEX offered leverage trading, 100x trading. Really not ever a good idea. People talked about it because it was profitable to talk about, basically. People tried it because, you know, they wanted to gamble a little bit. I've done a leverage trade myself, not on BitMEX, but I've done a leverage trade myself, and it's just, you know, it's enticing to think about, right? The problem is the U.S. government is not on board with this at all. And truthfully, BitMEX knew that when they launched. But in the beginning, you're a small business. You don't have anything to lose. So, you just launch. When you start gaining traction, you start growing, then you start trying to mind your P's and Q's. Now, here's what's interesting. A while back, the SEC came out, or the CFTC came out and said, hey, basically we don't like, or, I forget, I read a news article, maybe it was stiffer than that, but basically it was, hey, you've got to stop doing this. So what BitMEX did was they basically banned all IPs from the U.S. Now, here's what's interesting with the U.S. government. They kind of want to protect people against themselves. And I kind of see both sides of this coin. On one aspect, it's kind of like, hey, no one really needs to use 100x leverage. And that's true. I mean, that's just absolutely true. No investor anywhere has actually ever been successful using 100x leverage throughout his portfolio long term. I don't care what all the Instagram charlatans claiming to be trading, 4x at 100x. Nobody actually ever does that in real life. But it sounds good for a guy who has $50 and he wants to figure out how to turn it into $5,000, and he thinks that that's going to be the answer. It's not. It doesn't work. But at the end of the day, BitMEX they banned all IPs in the U.S. And I understand the government wanted to protect their citizens, but what more was BitMEX supposed to do? They added KYC type stuff, checking identities, et cetera, et cetera. None of us are fans of that in crypto for the most part, but it's what they have to do to, run a compliant business, to stay in business. Unfortunately, the U.S. government, for whatever reason, maybe they actually could be going after BitMEX based on way back when they said, hey, we don't want you doing this. They don't have to. It's not about, I saw someone comment, it wasn't Mr. Kristof, it wasn't his channel, but someone else commented, hey, all you had to do was use a VPN, and BitMEX knew that, and so the U.S. government's probably upset about that. I don't think so. I mean, there's only so much BitMEX can do. They probably just have to show that they did everything possible to prevent U.S. citizens from using BitMEX. And if they banned IPs, if they implemented KYC, and then they didn't allow U.S. citizens, they're probably not in trouble for that part. Legitimately, people don't realize that the U.S. government moves very, very slow. They probably have been investigating this for a couple of years now. And they literally are bringing up these charges based on way back when. And that's kind of the problem with crypto in a way, I think. I'm going to talk about something here in a minute outside of BitMEX. And the problem is something that's not necessarily illegal today. Now, BitMEX, they knew they were probably breaking the law, skirting the law, playing in a gray area. They probably knew that in the beginning. So that's a little bit different. But with crypto, the downfall is something could not be illegal today. The government could deem it illegal, and then they'll try to come after you for what occurred in the past. Now, it doesn't mean that you couldn't defend yourself in court, but at the same time, the federal government has unlimited resources to take you to court. Most people can't stand up to that scrutiny and pressure, and you're going to lose. And then, unfortunately, you start creating a precedence of people, losing or settling these court cases, and then it's just unfortunate till you got someone who's willing to fight it. But that's kind of the thing in crypto, starting a crypto business. So, and I've had several of my entrepreneur buddies that were like, why don't you try to start a business in crypto? It's something you like. You have this YouTube channel, yada, yada. You wrote this book. But the thing is, for me, heading a crypto project, it's because a big part of it is not knowing. I don't want to get in trouble after the fact because of something that I started. And I started it with good faith. I don't even want to have to defend myself in court over that, because defending yourself in court against the U.S. government can get expensive very, very fast. But U.S. government's coming after BitMEX. This is big, big news. People are like, oh, Bitcoin's going to dump. Yeah, it hasn't really. I mean, it's, 10,500. It's not really dumped at all. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. It's pulled back a little bit, but who cares? That's just crypto. Now, what's BitMEX's response to this? This is going to get interesting. So BitMEX denies the CFTC and DOJ allegation, says trading will continue. I got to be honest with you. There's a part of me that likes this. I love to see cryptocurrency businesses fighting back. And I love to see people fighting back in general. So despite criminal charges from the DOJ, at least one arrest of its leadership, BitMEX promises to continue operating as usual. In a blog post published Thursday afternoon, BitMEX lashed out at the charges that the Commodities Future Trading Commission and Department of Justice filed against the exchange and its management earlier today. BitMEX statement claimed that from our early days as a startup, we've always sought to comply with applicable U.S. laws, as those laws were understood at the time and based on available guidance. See right here, this is what I'm talking about. They're saying, hey, from the beginning, we used the current guidance at the time, meaning when I say guidance, they're talking about legal guidance. They hired a lawyer to obey those laws. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. They're saying they had a lawyer that said this was okay, or they got legal guidance that said this is okay, the way that it was understood. And this is probably the grounds they'll fight on. They do have the money to fight, et cetera, et cetera. But charges are being filed. Like the federal government is trying to arrest people. The saving grace for BitMEX is their accounts are in crypto. At least a large portion of their funds are in crypto, and they're probably outside of the U.S. jurisdiction. What people don't realize is typically what happens when the U.S. government files charges against a company, they freeze the company's assets. You can have a $1 billion company, but they freeze your bank accounts and you can't fight. You don't have money to hire a lawyer. You don't have money for a legal team. It's really challenging. I mean, they don't play fair. This is where crypto changes things. This is why every one of my emails, all of my videos, I assign crypto equals freedom. They're going to be able to have the funds to fight back to some degree because A, they're out of the U.S. jurisdiction on banking laws, probably, at least part of their accounts are. And at the same time, they have a tremendous amount of funds in crypto. It's hard to freeze crypto. Now, granted, they can make it, the U.S. government may make it difficult for them to exchange out of crypto. They may chase down accounts, et cetera, but it's going to be challenging. I mean, they're going to be able to pay for defense. I mean, they've got money. They're a successful business. What exactly applicable U.S. laws are will likely be central to the case. BitMEX has long maintained that it does not serve customers in the U.S., though others before the CFTC and the DOJ have argued that this is a lie. The CFTC case rests on BitMEX's failure to register with the commission as a derivatives exchange in the U.S. The DOJ, on the other hand, argues that BitMEX deliberately failed to implement effective Know Your Customer anti-money laundering programs in violation of the Bank Secrecy Act. Both agencies assert that BitMEX had years of warning that their operations were illegal. In its post denying the charges, BitMEX also assured users that trading will continue as usual. This is despite the fact that the DOJ arrested at least one BitMEX founder, Samuel Reed, earlier today. That is going to be brutal. See, and here's the concern. I actually think that the U.S. government is going to try to make an example out of BitMEX. We will see. Here's the problem that I have with all this. I mean, they're basically saying, you know, you didn't apply Know Your Customer laws, anti-money laws, et cetera, and you allowed U.S. customers. And all this sounds good, but the reality is U.S. customers aren't, the federal government doesn't allow you as a U.S. customer to trade on something like BitMEX. And I don't understand why not. Like, I mean, it's your money. You're an adult. I don't understand why the government actually cares about that. But they do. I mean, I got some ideas, but they do. The little guy, especially the non-qualified investor, and all that means you become a qualified investor if you're basically rich. The little guy, the non-qualified investor, gets screwed over. We're not allowed to be able to take the same advantages as the wealthy. And I agree that someone should not trade 100x leverage, but I don't agree that it's my place to tell someone not to trade 100x leverage. If you want to go piss your money away, that is your responsibility. If you want to piss your crypto away, that is your deal. Why does anyone else care? But this continues on. This is one of three stories from the U.S. government. Okay, so let's go to the next one. This is gonna be good. The IRS. This is gonna be good. But before I do that, let me just say this really quickly. I want to mention this. I'm not at the end of the video, but I'm going to mention it. This is the page, ultimatepassiveincomeBlueprint.com is a page where you can see where my book is that I've recently launched. You can come take a look at it, go through it. It's really, the book itself is really about being able to create a passive income using cryptocurrency. And it's down here. You can go watch, you can get all the details. I give away a bunch of bonuses, the whole 9 yards. Right now I'm selling it for $9.99. Total money back guarantee. If you get the book, you read it, you don't like it, you can get your money back. But go check it out. I appreciate you watching the video. I'll put a link down in the description, the ultimatepassiveincomeBlueprint.com. www. You got to put that in front. www.ultimatepassiveincomeBlueprint.com. How's that for a long A domain name? So let's talk about the IRS. IRS. This is good. That's not the one I want to do. Here we go. The IRS. We'll get to SALT in a minute. The IRS has offered, and I saw this a while back, but this is there's been new developments. They've offered a $625,000 bounty to anyone who can break Monero and Lightning Network. The United States Internal Revenue Service has announced a bounty of up to $625,000 to anyone who can crack Monero's privacy. Okay, I kind of like this one. Again, this is crypto versus the U.S. government here. This is another battle. There's 3 of these we're going to talk about. The next is we're going to be talking about DeFi. But IRS offers $625,000 bounty to anyone who can break Monero. I mean, I'm telling you, the U.S. government is on all-out assault. I think it's because they're threatened. Let me know your thoughts in the description. Do you think it's because the U.S. government is really just trying to be proactive and protect its citizens, or do you think they're threatened by what cryptocurrency can do? Just let me know your thoughts down in the description. So they put this out a while back. I guess it's been earlier this month, September 11th. This was talked about. So I saw this and I thought this is going to be interesting because if you don't know anything about Monero, it's really the original privacy coin, and it's the most private privacy coin. Like it's a lot of times like Zcash and some of these others, you have to you can choose to be private or not private. And I've been waiting for this showdown for a while. I knew this was coming. A lot of people, I mean, for the past couple of years, people were like, oh, privacy coins are the wave of the future. They're the wave of the future. And they may be, but they are going to get tagged first. I mean, one thing the U.S. government doesn't like, they don't like when they can't figure out what you're doing with your money. And they always say it's about tracking the bad guys, yada, yada. But, you know, the bad guys are using U.S. dollars too, but neither here nor there. They're going to pay over $500,000, $625,000 to anyone who can break Monero. Now, interesting enough, on principle, I would never even take that bounty if I thought I could do it, just on principle. I just couldn't handle it. I mean, I don't even want to. I wouldn't want to help the U.S. government figure that out. I feel like they take advantage of the little guy as it is. I'm not advocating that you don't pay your taxes. I don't think it's a good idea that you try to hide what you're doing. And one of the things about Bitcoin and blockchain that's very interesting is I think that it's very interesting that they can use chain analysis to track transactions. I actually think that will probably help adoption to some degree. And I actually think it's probably going to cause a state sponsored cryptocurrency where you and I might not be able to see every transaction, but behind the scenes on their private blockchain, the government can see every transaction. Think about that. No one could ever avoid paying taxes. They could get you wouldn't even have to do your taxes. The federal government literally could do taxes for you, just send you a bill on what you owe in taxes. Think about that. Now, this is where it would get interesting though. See, people don't think about this stuff sometimes. You got to go second level with your thinking. Most taxes are as high as they are, and government is not held accountable for spending because most people don't pay taxes. I know you're like, wait a minute. I just heard about Donald Trump. He doesn't pay taxes. I get it. You're not hearing what I'm saying. Most people don't actually have to write a bill or a check or, send in money to pay their taxes. It's automatically taken out for them. Why? Because the federal government learned a long time ago, if you're going to tax income, you got to take it first. If you give it to the people, they're going to spend it. You're never going to get it. However, in this case, if we lived in a world that was totally, some sort of a blockchain that was viewable by the government, they would just send you a tax bill based on what you did. It would be up to you to make certain they didn't screw you over. You'd have to hire your own accountant with chain analysis techniques. Think about this. We're not too far from this world, ladies and gentlemen. In the next 10 years, we'll probably live in this world where they can, send you a tax bill based off the blockchain. Now, here's the thing with that. All of a sudden, people are going to be upset. They're going to be like, they're going to see how much they owe the government, how much they've been having to pay the government. Think about that. And all of a sudden, governments are going to be held accountable to a different sort of a standard. I just think that's interesting to think about. But anyway, who knows? Maybe they'll use a smart contract and they'll pull their little fair share out of every transaction. Who knows? We'll figure that out when we get there. There's a lot of possibilities here. But in this case, they don't like the people being private with their money. They don't see, the thing about the U.S. dollar is you can transact in U.S. dollars. And if you transact in U.S. dollars, no one can actually watch it. the government's cracking down on U.S. dollars. There's coin shortages and all this nonsense. And some people believe that's because they want you using more electronic transactions. They want you to get accustomed to using electronic transactions because they ultimately want to do away with actual physical currency because it's too easy to transact and no one can see. And people believe that the governments around the world want to know how you're transacting. That may be true. I'm not sure. But here's what I'm certain of. I'm certain that they want every penny that's owed to them. I'm certain that they don't like the idea that people are using something like a blockchain, which can easily transact large volumes of money or of value, I should say, without any sort of, difficult to trace. Now, here's my belief. This has been taken on by Chain Analysis. Texas firm wins $1 million IRS contract to crack Monero. So I guess somehow it's gone up to $1 million. The IRS says, maybe it was $625 for each. Maybe it was $625 for Monero, $625 for Lightning. Chain Analysis and Texas firm wins a $1 million IRS contract to crack Monero. The IRS has named the winners of its bounty program to track transactions of owned privacy tokens and layer 2 protocols. On Wednesday, the IRS awarded $625,000 contracts looking for tracing tools for privacy token Monero and layer 2 protocols. The winner were blockchain analytic firms Chain Analysis and Integra FEC. The IRS initially publicized its request for a privacy busting analytics solution at the beginning of the month. An IRS representative told Cointelegraph that the agency had selected 2 winning firms out of a field of 22 proposals received, though the only rationale the representatives gave for the agency's decisions was comparative analysis was used. Chain Analysis is among the leading firms in crypto analytics and routinely wins such contracts with a range of government agencies. Integra FEC is a relatively unfamiliar name, despite millions of dollars in contracts with, for example, the Securities and Exchange Commission or other scientific technical consulting firms. Okay, so the IRS made a mistake a while back. They actually, supposedly caught this Russian hacker, and they basically published, these Bitcoin addresses, et cetera, et cetera. Well, unfortunately, when they in this case right here, the U.S. Treasury, sorry, not the IRS, the U.S. Treasury, they made a mistake, and they actually had a payment ID for his Monero wallet, which was not the wallet address, which they didn't even realize. I mean, it just shows you how far behind the government is. They didn't realize it wasn't a wallet address; it was a payment ID. Now, here's the thing. I want to know down in the comments, who do you think is going to win this? Do you think Monero community wins this? Or do you think Chain Analysis and these firms win it? I'm going to tell you something. The Monero community is very, very interesting community. What I mean by that is they operate. Many of you are familiar with Richard Hart. Richard Hart oftentimes will criticize Bitcoin for not advancing because he says there's no financial gain. And I think that that's partly correct. However, Monero is a very interesting it's a very interesting community. I mean, it's a bunch of people who feel really strong about the ability to transact with privacy coins and privacy tokens. And they've been, by the way, they were offshoot out of the Bitcoin community way back when. That mentality is still very, very strong. They believe that you should be able to transact in a cryptocurrency and that no one should be able to necessarily know what you're doing unless you choose to allow them. Now, they're not advocating that you don't pay your taxes and that you hide money. They're not advocating for that at all. They just think that you should be able to be held responsible for what you do, and you should not have to have someone else watching everything that you're doing. That's is essentially what they're saying. So they're not trying to support illegal activity or anything like that, but they feel strongly about privacy. And I also feel strongly about privacy. I have not messed with Monero at all, really. I've just primarily watched what's going on. I've watched a community, and Monero is a very difficult. I don't know if they're going to be able to break it. You can't help but if you've ever tried to look up a blockchain transaction on Monero, there's nothing there. There's nothing to see, and their privacy protocols really are second to none, and they're becoming more private all the time. The Monero community, I promise you, they're already on this. When this happened in September, I promise you, there were developers in the Monero community already thinking about how they could improve it, and they just hit warp speed with that. If it's possible to break, they know that, and they know where the weaknesses are, and they're gonna make it difficult, if not impossible, for Chain Analysis to be able to track it. In fact, the Monero community is very interesting. What some of them may end up doing, this is going to be fascinating to watch. I need to follow that community a little more to see what they're going to do about this. But they'll even create bunny trails for the federal government. They'll literally send them off in bunny trails, making them feel like they found the answer, and then they didn't. Like these guys, for no compensation whatsoever than just principle and just the challenge. That's just who that community is. If you're not familiar with Monero, here's what you need to know. It's a very small, the community itself is a very small niche community compared to the rest of crypto. It's not about, mooning Monero. It's not about just getting rich. It's about one thing: the freedom to transact with cryptocurrency without someone else watching and knowing every single thing that you're doing unless you choose for them to know. And they're very serious about that. It's a very interesting project. It's even a more interesting community. And when I saw this, I thought, the federal government has the full weight and the full financial resources to do just about what they want to do. But the Monero community, they're like David taking on Goliath, but they're fighting with heart. And, give me heart over finances every time. But we'll see where this goes. We'll see. One thing's for certain. If Chain Analysis and the Texas firm if they figure it out, like, they're not going to tell right away. We'll all find out way, way later. But I'm going to follow this as best I can to see what happens. I'll keep you updated on this. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. By the way, if you're still here with me, hit that freaking bell notification icon. You don't want to miss what I have coming up because I'm going to continue to be talking about this. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Can we get this video to can we get 50 likes? Smash that like button. Obliterate it. Listen, cryptocurrency is not favorable on YouTube. We've got to get this message out. The only way to do it is to smash that like button. So if you haven't done so, please do it now. So I want to talk about the federal government. This is the last story. Federal government's attack of everything else. Their current attack on DeFi. I've kind of stayed away from the DeFi space a little bit. I have made money on some projects. I do think it's interesting. I do think it's a lot of potential, but there's also a lot of crap in the DeFi space. And unfortunately, I believe that the federal government is going to ultimately, I think DeFi is the next major attack. In fact, I actually believe that DeFi is already getting investigated by the federal government. That's just my personal opinion. And the reason I would say that is because they've already come after this startup, Salt. Oh, yeah, I want to get back to that. They've already come after this startup, Salt. Many of you may know about Salt. You may not. Salt was a lending company, a lending-based cryptocurrency. And I just want to mention this. I have not followed this story that closely, but, they basically were trying to do everything right. They're trying to, do everything the best of their ability. They're just trying to do a good job with what they were doing. They were trying to run a legitimate business. But the SEC charged Salt Lending with illegal sale of an unregistered security, prompting a civil fine and impending refund program. That's rough. They got to pay $47 million back. In brief, Salt Blockchain must offer refunds for its 2017. Oh my goodness. ICO, which raised $47 million. The SEC ruled that it was an illegal unregistered security offering. Shapeshift CEO Eric Voorhees was reportedly a target of the investigation. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission announced today that Salt Blockchain, the company behind cryptocurrency-backed loan service Salt Lending, must refund customers that purchase its Salt tokens during an initial coin offering. So the way that the Salt platform worked was basically, you put up, say, $100. I'm going to oversimplify this, but you put up $100 worth of Bitcoin, or in this case, Salt tokens or whatever. And I actually looked at investing into Salt after it was launched because it was one of the first really big lending platforms to actually create legitimate loans. So basically, you put up $100 worth of your Bitcoin, and you got $50 worth of cryptocurrency back. I'm oversimplifying that. Maybe you had to put $100 worth of Salt up, and you got $50 back. And basically, they held your $100 till you pay back your $50 loan. And I'm using small numbers, but it could have been $10,000 to get a $5,000 loan, and they just hold your cryptocurrency as collateral essentially. According to the SEC, the ICO represented an illegal unregistered security offering. All told, the ICO raised $47 million from June through the December 2017. Through an additional $1.2 million worth of Salt tokens were sold through August of 2019. Salt Blockchain, which the cease and desist notes has been cooperative in investigation, has agreed to issue refunds to any customers who purchase Salt tokens by the end of 2019. Once the refund program is launched, customers must register to claim within 3 months. So if you want your Salt refund, make sure you go do that. This is just unfortunate. You got to ask yourself, really, why? Like, it really comes down because they didn't comply with government regulations. And here's the next thing. Did they necessarily know? And see, this is where BitMEX. See, Salt is doing the right thing to try to stay off the government's radar. It's like, okay, we didn't necessarily know that we did anything wrong, but we'll make it right. And here's what's crazy. Like, do they have $47 million right now? That ICO was done in 2017. They've had expenses and et cetera, and from the looks of things, it's not the most profitable business on the planet. Like, looking at Salt, like it still had a ways to go, but it was as straightforward of a business model as you can get. Now, this DeFi, leverage trading via smart contract, yada, 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 I just think the government is at some point going to be onto that. I'm not saying I like the DeFi space. I like the DeFi space a lot. The tax implications are going to be incredible. And when people don't pay their taxes, it pisses off the federal government. And I don't even think people have any idea how to end up paying their taxes. But even if you do know how to pay your taxes, it is tedious. The thing with crypto is people here, I'll finish up with this. People, and this is just like in general, the mentality. People want to put in $50 and make $50,000. That's unrealistic. I haven't talked about it on this video, but like another area that may come under scrutiny is going to be the gaming space. And I love the gaming space. And hopefully as an investor we'll be fine. I know they don't like players, and all the good gaming platforms don't allow US players, yada yada. Well, they don't allow US players on certain products. And truthfully, maybe they shouldn't allow US players on the website at all, truthfully. But we'll see how that all ultimately plays out. But I'm a big fan of the gaming space. I do think it's going to survive long term. However, with that being said, it doesn't mean it's not going to become under attack. But people even in that space, people are like, they want to mine $100 worth of tokens, and then they want to somehow make $1 million or something. It doesn't work that way in crypto. Yes, there are big opportunities that come up in crypto. There are good, legitimate opportunity, like crypto.com being able to make 16% a year on your holdings right now. That is legitimate. Yes, you can do that, yada yada. Using the crypto tab browser, earning free crypto just for surfing the internet. Yes, that is real. You can do that. There are opportunities that exist in crypto, and there are opportunities where you can own Bitcoin, or you can own Ethereum, and all of a sudden it could moonshot, own Tron, own whatever. It doesn't matter, Cardano, whatever. You own it, and all of a sudden it could double up, triple up. That's what happens in cryptocurrency bull markets. Those things happen, but people try to put in $25, $50, $100 in these little tiny projects, hoping that they're going to 10x overnight. And sometimes they do, because that's crypto, and hype is easy when you have a small cap coin. So sometimes they do, but people chase that kind of stuff. And the problem is, long term, you're literally outright gambling. You're literally outright gambling. In crypto, in my experience, I find that you have to go in large enough, but you have to go in small enough to hedge your risk. If you only have $100 in crypto, you probably should just go buy Bitcoin. And you don't need to put that $100. If you need that $100 for anything in the next year, you don't need to buy crypto. I got a video talking about cryptocurrency investing for beginners. I'll link it above. I'll put it on the end screen as well. And I talk about just basic common sense stuff like that. But like, for example, the gaming platforms, like, when I went in there, originally with like $1,000, and the chips launched. I went in with like $1,000, and I'm probably going to go into chips and Betfury with 500 each this coming month. And I dollar cost average in there. I'm not looking to make all that back somehow this month. I'm not looking to go to the moon. In fact, I'm not going to go into details now, but like, I haven't pulled anything at this point out of those platforms, anything. And I may never get it out. If they fail, I'll never get it out. You could obviously be withdrawing and part of the time because you're earning, dividends and passive income. However, with that being said, you could withdraw it, but I have a long-term goal with both these platforms. I want to ultimately, my goal is to get in front of the trend. If the trend survives, if the businesses survive, the trend is blockchain gaming with the dividend token. And if that survives, I want to be a long-term stakeholder indefinitely. I want to get to the place where I'm holding, a token. I've already done the math. I'm not going to talk about it now, but I'll share another video. I've already done the math. I know how many tokens I need long-term in Bet Fury to get, roughly $10 a day. Same thing with chips. I look at that and I just add to that. I keep adding because I want to build up a stack. I want to build up a position. I've got videos where I talk about that. I'll link that above as well. Just, I'm getting off topic. That's not what I want to talk about in this video. I really want to talk about the fact that two things. Cryptocurrency is under attack. It's going to bring on the bear market. And I believe that we haven't seen the full brunt of the U.S. government yet. I believe they're going to use everything from what's going on with SALT. They're going to use everything that's going on with BitMEX. I believe they're going to use, all Monero. They're going to use all these as reasons, in my opinion, to attempt to make cryptocurrency either more illegal or at least much more difficult to use for people. And I think and I believe that we're going to see it happen in a way we've never seen before. I believe that's going to bring on the next massive bear market. And that bear market is going to be sticking around for a while. But with that being said, do I think that's the end of crypto? No. Why? Because at some point people get tired of being ruled and they want to have freedom. And crypto is freedom. So it's going to be interesting to watch and see how this plays out. I'm not advocating for anyone to ever break the law. Ever. That's not what I'm here doing. But I do want to protect our freedom and I want to be able to transact with freedom. So I'm definitely on the side of the crypto freedom revolution. I'm definitely on that side of, that's who I'm rooting for. That's who I'm pulling for. Let me know your thoughts down below. By the way, I want to say one more thing. Just be mindful when you're investing in this space. Be careful. Yes, the potential is enormous. Yes, I believe ultimately Bitcoin hits $1 million ultimately. I think it's ultimately going to be unstoppable. But just be careful because we don't know what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and the entire market tanks. If there's a full-on worldwide government assault on crypto, which could happen, the entire market tanks. And I think we're seeing kind of signs of that attack happening right now. I don't know, maybe I'm off base. Maybe you totally disagree with me, but I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, it is my belief that crypto equals freedom. This is Crypto Wealth. I'm out.